I hear there's a game on Sunday, or there is primetime content that'll happen between commercials that we can already see. I get it, Budweiser. You're going to focus on wacky adventures or cute puppies and large horses. Imagining if America put resources into promoting good beer. Wait, there wouldn't be any left for me, and that would be wrong. I have thoughts about the big game. Forget if we're allowed to even say the name of this event, but it would be cruel and unusual to discuss them without an appropriate tease. I want Marshawn Lynch's hat. We'll have special guest Brandon Marianne Lee of the Her Fantasy Football Podcast, ESPNW, and so much more in the second half of the show. Sharona, you mentioned on Twitter that you prefer deflated balls. Is that correct?
Oh, I have small hands, and so, yes.
Just like Tom Brady. Oh, wait.
I'm in Tom Brady's, I have Tom Brady's dilemma. I have smaller hands, and so, yes, I like my balls, my footballs, to be a little bit deflated.
So I think isn't the college football a little smaller? Is that right? I don't know. One of those Nerf balls.
I know I've learned way more about balls over the course of the past few weeks than I ever intended to, but nobody has still explained to me where the NFL came up with the number that it came up with.
Which number is that? Of the ball?
The number that the ball is supposed to be inflated to.
Oh. Well, it's kind of like a Roger Goodell thing. It's pulled out of his you-know-what. Most likely. But this is the time of the year that we determine that the media is going kicking, screaming into the 21st century, and they don't know what the hell to do, and we're covering weird-ass stories, and everybody's upset about goofy stuff like guys wearing hats and saying stuff.
Really?
You gonna do your Marshawn Lynch lines already? Or you're gonna save them for later?
I'm just here so I won't get fined, Zach. But we all about that action, boss.
We're all about that action.
Oh yeah.
He will tell you where you can get the Beast Mode hat, which I kind of want. But what are we gonna do? But yeah, one little bit of news came across today. I think it was a day or two ago, we found out that Josh Gordon got suspended again for the league substance abuse program. And today, there was a post. We won't say he posted an article because we're not really sure who wrote that article, explaining Josh Gordon's history and kind of explaining away what happened to him. And I kind of like this side of kind of athletes getting to explain their own story, whether it's through a ghostwriter or through their own.
Yeah, me too. I enjoyed the article.
Because when it comes to these kind of punishments, we don't really know like what exactly happens to a guy when he fails a test. Like sometimes you fail a test because you didn't show up to the test, or sometimes you'll like his claims. It seemed like every time he failed a test, it was due to some kind of circumstances that may not have been his fault, or at least he said that.
Not entirely.
There was responsibility taken, but there was the whole like secondary pot smoke thing, which was like, okay, I don't know. Can you find a way to avoid being around people who smoke pot all the time? I don't know. Hard to say because I hear a lot of NFL players like it.
Well, I think that he took responsibility for, a lot of his actions. Said that he made bad decisions and whatnot.
I mean, it was crazy. The whole thing.
I'd like to know who his teammates were who were with him on the private flight, who apparently aren't good enough friends to say, Josh, you probably shouldn't be drinking.
Well, it's a friendship thing, and then it's kind of a representation thing, because some guys have failed tests for drugs where they didn't know that those drugs were illegal, like some kind of cough medicine or something. Like he took a cough medicine.
And he did say that he was not aware that the ban on alcohol extended beyond the season.
Yeah, I don't know if that's something like.
So that might be a little bit unfair to the other Browns players. Don't you think? Aren't you reasonably certain Johnny Manziel was in that group?
I don't know. Does he get to party with the team anymore? I mean, he kind of left him in a lurch. Although it did sound like that last game of the year when Josh Gordon got suspended for missing a walkthrough that he was partying with Manziel the night before because Manziel was like hungover and missed whatever kind of treatment he was having on his injury. I mean, wow. It's just another example of, man, it's not fun to root for the Titans, but it's even less fun to root for the Browns. Even when you have a good player or a player who's hyped, like they totally do a self-destruct thing. I mean, even after a year of suspension, which will be almost 2 years since he last played, he's still going to be like 25 in 2016. It's crazy how young this guy is. It's crazy how talented he is, and it's too bad that these things are happening, but it's good to hear the story, so at least we kind of humanize these guys. Because all everybody says is, he just smokes pot, he just smokes pot. It's like, oh, it actually was booze this time. So there you go. Ha-ha, in your face, pot people. Man, I don't know. I don't know if I play football, if they said no booze, that'd be a tough one. Be a tough one for me, personally.
Well, I mean, but if you knew that you were going to make, millions and millions of dollars, don't you think that you could refrain?
You'd think so. I mean, it's kind of like if you're a professional athlete, you probably need to have a certain diet and a certain exercise regimen, and you just have to do that. There's like a certain baseline if you're going to be professional. I think you can get away with a lot of stuff in college, like Johnny Manziel probably did. And then once you get to the top league, you're like, oh yeah, this is I have to work now. Huh. Very interesting. And then I feel like we're on day 3 of Marshawn Lynch not sort of talking to people.
Marshawn Lynch watch.
Upsetting old white sportsman writers and amusing the rest of us kind of in a way because we have to put up with this. I mean, the whole media day thing is kind of a circus anyway. And it makes you think, does the NFL just want a bunch of robots who act the same way and talk the same way and talk like Peyton Manning and, do their commercials, and anything bad they do gets kind of brushed under the rug? I mean, I don't know. But I don't want them to push.
I think the answer to that is yes. I mean, was that a question? Yes, they do. We must fight them.
There was one sports writer who got retweeted a lot who I think said something about how if it weren't for the writers, they would be playing on a concrete thing or something. I was like, well, I don't know. What's more replaceable, the people who cover the league or the people who are in the league? Like, what's more rare?
Well, I'm sort of proud of Marshawn Lynch for doing this, because now I know who are out there are self-important shitbags.
Yeah. There are a lot. I don't know. It's got to be hard to kind of go to the Super Bowl and deal with that kind of farce, especially like media day, because it's just there's a guy walking around with a barrel and little puppets, and just to get any attention at all, you either have to have a big name or you got to do something crazy. I think wasn't there coming up like fake players? Somebody was doing that, like a Jimmy Kimmel or something. They like made up a guy who was like the punter for one of the teams, but he wasn't actually the punter, and people actually interviewed them. I don't know. But anyway.
I don't pay much attention to media day.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, that's happening. I kind of like it. We're at the point in the NFL where stuff's happening. I'm like, I'm not even seeing this. Oh, okay, thanks for telling me, everybody. It's pretty easy to get caught up because everybody kind of posts about the same stuff. Hard to believe, huh?
Hard to believe.
So you back up to your full 2,000 tweets a day, or are you still trying to ease back in to your social media?
I'm still easing back in. Social media and I are still on somewhat of a break, but made more appearances lately than I did during the early parts of January of the year.
Let's just check for fun. I like to check this every once in a while.
Check for fun. While you're doing that,
you're
Zach,
still more than twice the number of tweets I've sent. I have 58,000 tweets, and
you're so far behind my level that you're never going to catch up. You're never going to catch up. You're just going to have to settle for getting closer.
I'm just drafting. You're going fast. I'm just trying to stay behind you so I can maintain speed.
Listen, our loyal listeners and watchers, Zach has the unfortunate history of not understanding what it means to be a true Southerner. And even though he lives in Hotlanta,
Hmm.
he doesn't have an appreciation for the grit, which breaks my Southern beating heart. But he also has no idea what hominy is. So I'm here
Oh,
to educate Zach
that's a good question.
on what hominy is.
Whoa.
Now there are
You
two
know, like to a food
varieties.
show? That'd be
You've
great.
got you've got your golden hominy, which is golden.
Golden? Okay. See, I'm
You've
not that
got your
slow.
white hominy, which
Hmm.
is white, and it's delicious. All right.
See, I think of grits as like the Russell Wilson press conference of food, but hey, maybe I'm wrong.
Well, see, you've clearly not been introduced the correct way.
Maybe. One of these days. So
Clearly.
how's a good episode would it be like? Is there a particular restaurant in Nashville that has like the good stuff, or do you have to like prepare it yourself? I mean,
I
any
prepare.
self-respecting Southern has got to cook their grits. It takes 14 days without sleep to make them properly.
Obviously, you haven't seen my cousin Vinny to understand the correct
That's where I
way
was getting that from.
to
Yeah.
cook a grit.
What's a
But
grit?
I digress.
No grass. Sorry. Hi.
I bought hominy just for you, Zach. Although I'm going to eat it because it's going to be delicious. As a kid, true story. Zach wants to turn this into a segment. I think we should. As a kid, I used to
Confused
beg.
Yankee. Yeah, let's do that.
As a kid, I used to beg my mother to make hominy, and she would occasionally. I was really. My dad likes it too. Besides me and him, I was the only one in the family who begged for it. He liked liver and onions with ugh,
Hmm.
ick.
That doesn't sound Southern.
No, it's yuck.
Hmm. I hear hominy and I think it's like that's some part of the pig that I don't want to know what it is. That's just, the first thing I think of.
Zach, we've got to talk. We've got you.
We've
You've
got to
got to
talk.
do better. You've
We are
got to do
talking right
better.
now. There's a dialogue
But
going on.
yes,
I'm wrong. You're right. I think this is
but
this is
we
nice.
can't. We can't bore everyone with me trying to educate you even more on the deliciousness that is maize.
We're gonna talk about the deliciousness that is Sweet Georgia Brown from Sweetwater. Smoother than a Bill Clinton apology, they say on the bottle. So nice.
Oh, that's. I bought beer, but since Brandon's joining us, I didn't want to burp in front of Brandon, so I'm drinking vino. This is. What am I drinking? I am drinking a.
I don't know. It's got grapes. It's all good.
Well, I was trying to decide between two, and I can't remember which one I picked. I did not pick Plunger Head. This is. Oh, this is a Shiraz.
Your head.
This is a Whoop Whoop Shiraz.
Mm.
Whoop Whoop.
So, okay, big important weekend information. So, are you watching the Puppy and/or Kitten Bowl?
No.
No?
No.
You get enough of the Puppy Bowl every day?
I definitely get enough of the. Yes, I get enough. Puppy and I played ball today. Speaking of balls, and she was so excited. It was very adorable, and
Everything was inflated.
I'm certain the puppy bowl couldn't be any more adorable than that. And so, halftime is obviously for shitty performances because Katy Perry is playing, but it gives me an
Oh,
opportunity.
yeah.
It gives me an opportunity to refill, get up and move around, take puppy dog out, and not have to pay attention to shitty performances.
Yeah, that's the odd thing about the Super Bowl. People go to the bathroom during the game. They don't go during the commercials. And then it ends up being like, oh, that wasn't that good. Or, oh, I already saw that on the internet. Or, hey, didn't they play that commercial already? Sometimes they do repeat commercials that were played, and I'm like, why? But anyway. I don't know. Doesn't it seem like there was like a golden era of commercials during the Super Bowl, like in the 80s or 90s, and
There
now
definitely used to
it's
be a
just kind of like
mm-hmm.
part of it's the internet because I'm pretty sure most of the commercials have already been shown on the internet because that's what everybody does. But yeah, it's like It's gonna be the little puppy with the horse and the Budweiser. Oh, what's the commercial about? I have no idea. Who cares?
The Clydesdales was a Budweiser commercial, and that
Mm.
was a good commercial.
Encouraged me to drink okay beer, but hey, I got my beer. Got some wings and start marinating them. It's gonna be exciting. You have a big party planned since you got the house to yourself?
I'm very excited about the house to myself. I do not have a big party planned. I actually have started my Super Bowl food, and so I ate crap today, but it was
Hominy?
good.
You have to start your hominy grits salad or whatever?
I did not have hominy grits or salad today.
I mean, you're preparing it for the Super Bowl, right?
Oh, what am I preparing for the Super Bowl? I have not decided. I need to check and see what the temperature is going to be and all of that good stuff. I've got options, though.
Do ya?
I do.
Oh, this is a random question. So when the Titans were in the Super Bowl, because that did happen in America, it did happen. Where did you watch the game?
Where did I watch the game? Where did I watch the Super Bowl?
I know you were like, 6 years old, so.
I don't remember. I do not remember where I watched it.
Wow.
Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Remember, I was at a friend's house. I was at a restaurant/friend's house.
Restaurant/friend's house. Did they have hominy and grits and all that, or no?
We did not have hominy or grits.
No wonder they lost, right? Isn't
No
it like
wonder.
was it the black-eyed peas and collard greens on New Year's Day, the good luck thing, which we had in like 4 different places?
My friends owned and operated a restaurant. He was a chef. She was the brains behind the operation, and we had nice food. Very, very, very nice food.
I was at a friend's house who was a Rams fan, so I had to drink a lot of vodka shots because that's what happens when you're at a friend's house and they root for the Rams. And the only way the Rams can win a Super Bowl is when they play the Titans. Oh, yeah. It's still funny to this day.
By the way, speaking of the Rams, have they been able to hire an offensive coordinator yet?
Oh, gosh. I thought they hired somebody, but I don't remember who that was. Yeah, the coaching stuff's kind of flying by. Like, I'm not catching up to it. I'm like, oh, who's the poor guy who got the short end of the stick and has to be the RG3 like quarterback coach, and end his career. So, yeah, the bouncing around. Didn't Trestman
Are you saying that RG3 is a quarterback killer?
He seems to be a coach killer.
That's what I meant.
There's no. Maybe because we have all these shows now, I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to be an interesting 30 for 30, like the Josh Gordon story. That's going to be a great documentary someday. And oh, the RG3 thing. Wait, he was good for like 12 games, and then he just completely imploded?
Well,
how on earth did that happen,
Yeah. He got hurt.
The injury.
Twice, badly.
That's such a hard thing to do with that running quarterback. It's like you want to use that running stuff, but if the quarterback's going to last in the NFL, they can't really do that for 10 years. Steve McNair had to become a pocket passer. Donovan McNabb did. I'd say Vic did, but he still, it didn't quite work out. But, yeah, if you want a long-term career, that stuff's not going to work. But then in the short term, you're like, yeah, but this guy's fast. I got to run him. Kind of like what happened with Kaepernick this year. What a disaster he was.
Trust me, I know. He was one of my fantasy football quarterbacks. Well aware.
Well, in a league I was in, a 2-quarterback league, somehow they defaulted and gave me the auto pick of Kaepernick. And at the time I was like, no, he's going to do really well in the scoring system. And he was bad.
He was just horrible.
I think I cut him for like Colt McCoy or something just because that's how bad he was. But yeah, I don't think the 49ers, I think they might be going downhill fast.
I don't know a single name on their coaching staff.
That's true. It's not good. You're like, I'm soaked in this NFL thing, and then it's like, yeah, who did they pick up? It's hard to say. It's tough. But do we think, big game and all, Super Bowl? I said it. Oh, um, you think the injuries at the secondary for Seahawks? Think that's gonna be a big thing?
I think it's going to be I think that it can't help but be somewhat of a factor. I think it sounds like Richard Sherman, so long as his wife isn't whelping, is going to, or girlfriend, sorry, should be
Whomping?
fine.
Oh, the baby, right? Okay,
Yes.
I remember seeing. I was like, oh yeah.
Yes, having her baby, their baby. And so the Earl Thomas injury is interesting. Probably not as big an impact maybe as the Patriots might like, but I think, you know, yeah.
I remember Sherman, like he was, holding his arm up like the rest of the game when he was in, and the Packers didn't really go after him. So maybe, but it's such an odd game in that like all the skill position players except for like Marshawn Lynch, there aren't any like first rounders out there. All the receivers for the Seahawks are all like undrafted free agents, and the Patriots have LaFell, who was dumped by the Panthers, and they have seventh round pick, and Amendola, a bunch of undrafted guys, and they have Gronk, but he was a second round pick, and it's just like it's kind of unusual. I think somebody said this is the first Super Bowl without a first round pick that the team originally took him as, or something. They had to use a little fudging to get Marshawn Lynch in there because he was a first round pick, just wasn't by the Seahawks. But yeah, every skill position player was not a first round draft pick. And pretty much quarterbacks usually, I think it's been a few years since we've had a non like first round pick as a quarterback because every year they have one. Peyton, they had Peyton, but,
Which
Eli.
one?
I'm saying Peyton last year was a first rounder. Kaepernick was a second rounder, but Flacco was a first rounder. Can't believe that. Um, I don't know, but it was interesting to see where these guys were drafted. But so we've already determined that you're not rooting for the Patriots because they have Akeem Ayers, right?
I'm rooting for a good game. No injuries, no serious injuries. I hope Akeem has a nice game.
It was a nice game. Maybe the Titans will re-sign him after this year. What do you think?
I think probably not. I think I would love to see hear what Akeem has to say if they tried that.
I would guess if he had his choice of 32 teams to sign with, the Titans would be like 33 maybe. But he's probably likes them a lot because like, oh, they gave me the pay, yay! Now I'm on a team that's good. I had no idea. Um, yeah, but that's the way it goes in Super Bowl land.
That's the way it goes.
I'm guessing the amount of the Pro Bowl you watched was 0. Is that a good guess?
I did not watch any of the Pro Bowl.
I tried to keep track on like social media. Like I didn't even know when the game was. Like people finally started talking about it. I'm like, oh, that's when it is. I just found
I
it
wasn't
hard.
even on
Yeah, I'm
social
rooting
media.
for Team Irvin or Team Chris Carter.
That was the dumbest thing. I mean, that whole draft thing was dumb.
Yeah, like takes one more reason. Like, well, I'll root for the AFC or I'll root for the NFC. Now it's like, and those guys drafted like random people off the street drafting in a fantasy football league. Like they had to take a quarterback first. I'm like, okay. Are you sure the guy's going to play in the game? I think they went to number 10 on the quarterback list before they had guys who would play. Because Andy Dalton got in the game, by the way. Andy
Oh, did he?
Dalton! Yeah. Like Joe Flacco passed it up. He said, nah, that's okay.
I'm good.
Basically, anybody who just lost in the playoffs probably is like, nah, I'm done. And then I gotta wash my hair. All these excuses they came up with were pretty good about why they didn't want to play. Because I think if you get selected and you turn it down, you still get the bonus. So you're all good. Because I know all the Seattle guys who got picked, they're still getting that bonus, which is nice. But yeah, it's weird they did. What is it? Narrower extra points or field goals and extra points from like the 20-yard line or something. Yeah, I don't know.
Did you check that out? Another thing that I think is dumb, by the way.
The Pro Bowl?
Well, no, the whole thing about the goalposts.
Well, I think they're actually talking about making it a permanent change. Like
Well, of course they are, because they're idiots.
they're gonna shrink the field goals by 2 feet on a side.
I mean, just make it arena football. Would be a lot cheaper for me to watch and cover arena.
They have a team in Nashville?
Yes, I do.
They had one in Atlanta. They just kept moving around. Like it was downtown, and then it was way out in the burbs, and I think they finally got rid of it. But yeah. I mean, it's basically if you like all offense, it's great. But yeah, I do recall we did a flag football tournament like on the Georgia Force, their field. And their turf was like freaking razor wire, so if you fell down, you basically ripped your arm off. So I was wearing long pants. I think I scored a 2-point conversion and I had an interception, but other than that, yeah, it wasn't a good day. We did not emerge victorious.
Aww.
Back in the what did I say, glory days. So we used to. Not only did we play flag football, we would play at like 2 p.m. on Saturday because nobody would wake up early enough. All in our glory days of the 20s. Anyway. Because we played flag football and then someone would bring beer. And we would just play in this park and some dude with a dog would basically come by and complain to us that we didn't live in the neighborhood so we shouldn't play. We got kicked out a few times. It was good, but back in the day, yeah, exactly.
Back in the day.
I don't know. Do you remember, like, before last year's game, wasn't the feeling that it was kind of an even match, or did people think Seattle had that in the bag before the game happened?
No, I think some people picked the Broncos. I think that people thought that it was going to be a good game.
Because I feel like we're getting a lot of people saying after the fact that, no, we thought Seattle was better. Like, I thought it was a pretty even match game, but I thought if one team was going to blow out the other, Seattle would do it because they were the healthier team. And that turned out to be the case. Like, if the Broncos were all healthy, they probably would have lost by, 2 touchdowns? But anyway, you knew at that first play, it was like, oh, this is over. I mean, every time there was a tease, they might score. Nope, no, kickoff return. Never mind, it's over.
Yeah, it was amazing to me how truly lopsided it was.
I mean, it was a throwback to those kind of 80s Super Bowls. Because I watched that Bill Walsh, the documentary on the NFL Network, and I remembered how tough the NFC was in the 80s. Like, it was the 49ers, but then the Cowboys were good, and the Bears had that defense, and the Washington was good, and then the Giants. So just getting through the NFC was like the hard part. Once you got to the Super Bowl, I think the AFC won 1 or 2 Super Bowls in the 80s. I mean, it was pretty lopsided for a while. It's kind of gone back to being an even match, but I don't know. I'm kind of hoping for a good game. I think Brandon's here. Let's see. I see the icon. Hi, icon.
Hey, Brandon. There she is.
Hello, Brandon. Welcome to the show. I see. I think she's here. Got like a professional mic and everything. It's not fair. Huh. Sometimes this happens.
Oh.
Maybe she couldn't be heard. I don't know. Say hi. Say something. We're just talking about Peyton.
So while we're getting Brandon in here, what do you think is going to happen with Peyton? What's he going to do, Zach?
I think he's coming back.
You do?
Didn't he say he was coming back? I said maybe it's just anyway.
I have not seen any news. I've been a lot better about keeping up with things here lately. I haven't seen him say that he's coming back. I thought that he said he was going to wait and see if he passed his physical that he intended to play.
Yeah, I think doesn't that happen every year? He's got to have some kind of test because of his neck to see if he comes back. Like last year, but he's like, well, of course he's going to come back. He was MVP last year, and he's one game short, and he's going to do it. I don't know. I got additional people here. Hello, how's it going? Oh, yeah. Was that an accident?
I have no idea.
I was like, I don't know who that is.
No clue.
I've had one drop in once on a hangout I did, but
I think we might have actually accidentally posted the direct link instead of the link.
Oh, okay.
So. Hey, Brandon.
Are you here?
Yes. I can't hear you, though.
I can, yes.
But we can see you.
Yeah, just,
lovely.
Just mime, Just do like I'm swimming. I don't know.
You might want to check your settings. Sometimes when I put my when I plug my headset in, I have to go in and manually add it because Google's not friendly that way. Yeah, I don't know if she can hear me. I'm going to send her a message real quick. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, maybe it's just the assumption he's coming back because he has...
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
He's here. Woohoo! Woo! Rockstar.
We're going for two. See?
We're talking about your favorite player.
It's all about synergy.
I think you guys are going to make me cry, aren't you?
So,
isn't that what our gifts were about earlier this week? Was just no Sean Moreno tears.
Oh my gosh.
That's right. Football players cry. It is true.
Yeah, they do.
There definitely is crying in football.
Yeah, please stop it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Actually, I'm going to be releasing a Super Bowl article today where I say at the end, things to watch during the Super Bowl. I talk about Russell Wilson, and I talk about Tom Brady, and I talk about Marshawn Lynch, and blah, blah, blah. And then at the end, I'm like, and the commercials and the halftime show. And then at the end, I was like, yes, I left those two at the very end because I'm a woman, and I know that you sexist people out there think that we only watch for commercials and halftime, and that's not true. But I do enjoy commercials and halftime, and I can, just like all the men do. So you know what? It's a boring game. It's Seattle and the Patriots. Everyone knew they'd be there, and everyone's bored to tears. Yeah, I'd like Katy Perry to knock the lights out like Beyonce did. Why not? So anyway, those are my first thoughts before we get to Peyton Manning, because those are my joyous thoughts.
It's interesting. You're the first woman that I've talked to who's excited that Katy Perry is playing.
No, you know what? Because I'm a woman who supports women. I'm just so sick of everybody tearing everybody down. You know what? I hope she's awesome. Why? Because why not? And, she's a human being, and I know that sometimes we want to just crap on everybody because it's so easy when we're sitting in our basement to just, tear everyone apart, but she's working her fanny off. You know what? Go for it. Rock it out. Do it. Fine. I would rather watch that than, frankly, Deflategate coverage. So...
Well, that's true.
If you're asking me which one is a worse evil, I don't know, guys. Deflategate is so boring. I'd rather watch Katy Perry.
Well, I would rather see Katy Perry than Chris Brown, so that's definitely...
Oh my gosh, could you imagine? Oh, if the NFL decided this was the year to put Chris Brown out there in any capacity, I just... I can't.
Before we get too far, we haven't done an official introduction. We're going to make sure everybody knows who the awesome other person is on our show. Brandon Marianne Lee. Interviewed her, part of my Ask You Fantasy Football Expert series in November of 2013, and since then she done blowed up. She's the tri-host of that sister show, her fantasy football podcast, and writes for ESPNW when not crying over Peyton Manning and the Broncos. Now, I listened
Which is perfectly understandable and acceptable.
Well, you know what? You know, Peyton Manning's thinking, that deflated ball theory. I should try that out.
Yeah.
I'm
Should try
dead
that
serious. I
a
think
week
this is a
early.
serious thing with these quarterbacks playing till they're 50 years old. You don't think Brett Favre's wondering if he would have had a Super Bowl with the Vikings if he had a little deflated ball action? No, I'm serious. Now that
It's
these
funny
guys are
that
getting older, that's a huge advantage. I
there's
mean,
these,
I think we have to talk about it. It's interesting. But anyway, go ahead with your intro. I'm being terrible.
there's this controversy, with like the Seattle guys because a bunch of them have been suspended for PEDs, and it's like, well,
Yeah.
when you have steroids, you have little issues downstairs. So hey, two issues in one. Why not? It's all good.
That's why
You
I
know,
can't stand this Super Bowl.
I just I listened to your the last show that Her Fantasy Football did, and it was like the divisional round of the playoffs. And I
Yeah.
think you kind of had a feeling. Like, I was like, oh, we're like kindred spirits in terms of our teams. Like, you kind of like, I'm not feeling so good about the Broncos. I
Nope.
think people kind of wanted them because everybody's like, come on, let's give Peyton one more
Sure.
ride. And,
It would have been
yeah,
nice
it was
for
a
him to go out that
merry-go-round.
way.
It was very clear that the three of us actually watch Bronco games. I feel like sometimes people look at stats or like the records and they're like, oh yeah, the Broncos are one of the best teams. And I was like, you guys, if we make it through the Colts, it's heaven sent. We have no business beating the Colts, and the Colts have no business beating the Patriots. It was so clear it was going to be the Patriots in the Super Bowl if you actually watched any of the last 6 weeks of the NFL. It embarrassed me. I was embarrassed. I thought, gosh, this is the most boring. The only chance was that Baltimore would beat them, and I just thought, nah, that's too. Um, it's too
So,
much wishful thinking, but Peyton Manning was obviously hurt. I don't even know how that's. I don't even know how that ended up being news that he had hurt himself. I was like, yeah, did you watch the games? It was kind of like last year when our defense stunk. I was like, yes, they're terrible, and they were terrible all year, but we were scoring 50 points, so no one cared. But they were always terrible, and this year they weren't that much better, and it ticks me off that Del Rio got a head coaching job. I know it's with the Raiders, and no one cares. He'll be fired in 2 years. But
you're probably
still,
glad he's gone.
I'm glad he's gone. I was, we were not so secretly since the middle of the season hoping Rex Ryan would be the defensive coordinator, but we knew we wouldn't be able to get him. He was going to get a head coaching job, but still, he was terrible. How could you not do something with with the talent there? And yes, they were better, but they still weren't that much better. It was anyway. I think, listen, Peyton Manning still had an exorbitant amount of yards and touchdowns compared to the average quarterback. They're going to play him if he comes back. But you know what? I'm getting older too. And the problem is it just takes a little longer for everything. You're still fabulous in your 30s, but it just takes a little bit longer to get that crease out of your cheek from your pillow even. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like him repairing from an injury is the issue. And he will get injured again because everyone's injured in the NFL as of week 16. I mean, you talk to any player, that's what they say, right? All of them take ice baths. All of them are injured. It's an issue. And and that's my problem. I think he's fabulous, but I think he'll get injured again. And I think we have to bank on that. And that's a problem. It's a problem as a team. But I mean, do I want Brock Osweiler instead? No. And I've openly stated all year that if they draft Jameis Winston, I won't support them. So I obviously don't hope for that. But so because I can't. I also have
Yeah.
never drafted anyone who's done like questionable behavior in general. But that's not necessarily true because I think Brandon Marshall went to therapy and I forgave him after like 4 years, but I didn't draft him for a lot of years. And you know what? I don't even feel bad about it because I've never lost a game in fantasy because I didn't draft someone that I didn't like. So anyway, I know I'm in the minority on that, but
No, I think that for me, I want to be able to root for my players and not
Yeah.
like, I won't even draft a guy if it's going to require me to root for a guy that I don't like.
I didn't draft the Carolina defense because of Greg Hardy. That's a whole defensive unit. And I was like, nope, because he shouldn't be playing. He got convicted. Nope. I know he's appealing, but nope. I saw that evidence. No, thank you. I heard the call.
And they were bad.
They were bad. Greg Hardy was almost worse than the Ray Rice thing. When you really look at the two cases, listen, domestic violence is terrible in general, but to act like somehow Greg Hardy's was less severe was insane to me. I didn't understand that logic whatsoever. It was documented in 911 calls. This woman's running in the street, crying and screaming. I mean, listen, I know that there are a lot of very interesting people, and I don't know everything about everyone, and I certainly don't even know everything about everyone in my workplace, right? We don't know what's going on next to us. I mean, I know that's uncomfortable to admit and say, but it's true. But once I do know things, it's very hard for me to compartmentalize certain things. It's not hard for other people, and that's fine. I'm not judging them, but just for me personally, it's not what I do. So anyway, I have a lot of, but you know what's weird? I also didn't draft the Broncos defense because of TJ Ward. So when he threw a glass at a woman's face. So it's also my own team when I say no thank you. So, but I did draft their kicker, which he ended up being.
Was that the drunken kicker you drafted?
The drunken kicker. I didn't draft him this year. I drafted him last year, and I was like, gosh darn it. But with Josh Gordon and stuff, these people are getting suspended, and now they could possibly be out forever.
Mm-hmm. We were talking about Josh Gordon earlier. Just a sad, sad situation.
I hope he gets help. I mean, obviously, personally, I don't think I'm not a pot smoker myself in a very genuine manner. I don't enjoy it. I've tried it. It just put me to sleep. If I'm being entirely honest, like a long time ago. You can't even. It's probably outside of like the realms of arresting kind of years ago. But I feel like the problem is he's doing it and it's affecting his life, right? And that's the problem.
It's like he's affecting his life, and then it's pretty obvious, like, oh, you shouldn't do that, and he still does it. Like the drinking that he got busted for this time, it's like, oh, I didn't know that I couldn't drink after the season was over. It's like, well, somebody probably knows, and someone probably could have told you.
And I'm sorry, you also missed a practice. I mean, like, let's not pretend like he had one. I mean, everyone's saying, oh, it was just one beer. I highly doubt that. Let's just be real here. He also missed, remember that was the whole thing with the Johnny Manziel party.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I told Zach, I was like, I'm sure Johnny Manziel was on that flight. He probably chartered the flight.
Yeah.
Could be,
because it was a private charter.
Isn't Johnny Manziel just unbelievable?
Yeah. Well, the Browns don't need to be coming to me with some big shock look on their face.
Thank you. I was at the draft in New York City. Were you guys there?
No, I didn't go this year. I don't generally go.
But, I would suggest if, I think you guys are a little closer to Chicago, right? Or can drive there. And I mean, I'm telling you guys, go there. We went as fans. We didn't go as media people because it was hard to get media. And, we were just, not even a year old officially. So we didn't get media passes. We just went as fans, and we stood in line. We did everything. But I'm telling you, the media was lying to you. The draft, the people in the draft, like the fans, booed Johnny Manziel. They didn't cheer him. And every time that they cheered after a draft pick, it was because Johnny Manziel didn't get picked. What the media, we found out later that the media was saying that, oh, everyone here wants Johnny Manziel. That's a lie. In fact, we met all the Cleveland guys that had the Johnny Manziel jerseys on, and they were saying they only wore them because they wanted to get on the television. They actually hated Johnny Manziel, and half of them weren't even Browns fans. So, I mean, it's very interesting, but all the media people that we met with loved him.
I have no doubt whatsoever about that.
And what was interesting is I was like, why? What? I mean, I understand he was a great college quarterback, but so were a lot of other people. I didn't see anything that was translatable to the NFL. I'm still a little confused. Now, I'm not saying he's dead in the water. I think that's also a little harsh. He had 1.5 games that were terrible, epically terrible. Let's be honest. But man, it's like they just turned on him. They loved him. Boom, hate you. And I think that's really terrible. I don't know. So
Well, we do turn on players real quick. That does seem to happen. Like I do these like mock dynasty drafts. They're kind of like, here's what a startup dynasty would be. And Johnny Manziel was going like in the eighth, ninth round last summer, and the one I just did, he was in the 18th round. Like he was in the range of like a Geno Smith or a EJ Manuel at this point. You know, like everybody's pretty much like, oh, we're done, we're finished. Like, would a Terry Bradshaw survive today? Because he had such a horrible first couple of years in his career, like with Twitter and social media. I mean, we do. I mean, football careers are really short, so we're just like, all right, we're moved on. You're finished.
You know what? That's our problem in this league. We spit out these players, and then we make players like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady and Drew Brees play until they're in a wheelchair, for crying out loud. We don't let other people come up and make mistakes or do things. I mean, John Elway was terrible too. He was terrible when he first started with the Broncos. I know. I loved him, but I mean, that's what you do. You dedicate yourself to a guy, and you take the bumps in the road. I think that the pulling of EJ Manuel is one of the weirder, not okay things that happened in the 2014 season that we'll look back on. Because I
thought that was weird too.
It's not like Kyle Orton was Peyton Manning.
Plus, Kyle Orton quit after this year, and the coach quit. So it's like, and you saw that because Orton quit on the Cowboys. He got like a bonus from them, and then the Bills were like, "We'll give you $5 million." It's like, oh my gosh, are you sure about that? Because going 9-7 and not making the playoffs, that's what excites a fan base, I tell you.
Is Kyle Orton the most lucky, intelligent man you know? I mean, really think about it. He's played as a backup or like kind of a player and has more money than you can imagine. His contracts were all good in Chicago, in Denver, Cowboys. Didn't he play for Kansas City for a while too? Buffalo. Exorbitant amount of money, and I don't think he ever cared, really.
Charlie Whitehurst hasn't done too bad for himself either.
Charlie.
Yes.
Yeah, Tablet Jesus. All right.
Oh, you guys are my Tennessee Titans friends. I'm so excited to see you, by the way. I'm so sorry. I'm like chatty Cathy because I'm so excited to see you guys.
No, you're great. You go.
But so you're Titans. I don't want to like guide this conversation.
I'll have to admit, we're both kind of half out the door with the Titans, just the way they are. And we were talking about Jameis Winston. It's like that would be the final straw. Like the Titans draft him, and I guarantee you, like a third of the fan base is probably done the next day.
I think the good news is that Tampa Bay is a little worse than you.
I've heard both. Like I heard from someone's like they're taking Jameis #1, and then I heard today they're taking Mariota for sure. That's just pre-draft hype.
Yeah,
they can't take Mariota.
You cannot believe anything that you hear from about the draft.
I did a Sirius XM host mock draft for 2015 like a month ago. I want you to think about that.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, put in the rookies, And one of the questions they asked me, like, you didn't draft any rookies for next year. And I was like, I don't ever draft rookies. It's one of my theories because I was able to pick up every stud rookie except for Kelvin Benjamin this year in week 4 because everyone dropped them around there. You just have to keep your eye out for when people drop them right there. Odell Beckham was free as a bird week 4. And 2, I don't know where they're going. And, I don't know how they're going to play in the pros, and I'm not going to put them in a mock draft a year out without knowing where they're going to land. Or we could have a Bishop Sankey situation, which is where this story is coming from, where you think, oh, he's in a great situation, and then he fumbles the ball every single game of the preseason, and they can't play him.
Footwork.
And eye coordination.
Sean Green got busted for, a DUI, and then he got the first carry. It was like, oh, we have a really bad coaching staff. I don't know. So one of your sisters is a Titans fan? Is that right? From the show?
Well, each of us cover a team. So we do her fantasy football draft of sort right before the actual draft where we draw out of a hat one team from each division, and then the 4th team is left over. It goes into a wild card hat. And then we pull from that at the end. And so, I think it's my sister, Ashley, who covers the Titans. And actually, we had a Bishop Sankey joke going all season. Because we talked about, I don't know, does this happen to you guys? Maybe I think it happens to everyone, where people ask us questions on Sunday, like, should I start this person or this person? And then someone hijacks the question. Do you know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
sure.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I mean yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, hold on, they didn't ask you. And like, there are like three guys that like specifically hijack every single one of our questions. And we're like, you know what? We always know it's the other guy answering because they always say play Bishop Sankey. And we have never said that. And so we like,
Oh, Bishop.
I mean, yeah, Bishop Sankey. Every week was going to be his week, right? Literally from like week 5 to 10, it was like, this is his week.
It was
Yeah.
it was a rough one because I was in Nashville for the draft, and
It was a perfect
actually
opportunity.
they actually did what I liked them to do. Like, they even traded down, got an extra draft pick, had their choice of any running back, and it was hard to say with Sankey because it was like the stats people liked them and the film people didn't like him. I couldn't really tell exactly what happened, but Sharona got a nice look at him. I don't think you were so excited about the prospects. But it might have been just the beginning of the end of the love of the coaching staff and the GM.
Well, I had gone back and taken a look at the data from Ken Wisenhunt's time, and I actually was familiar with the time in Pittsburgh. Went back and re-looked at the data from his time in Arizona, compiled it, and said, you guys really need to slow your roll on Bishop Sankey because, and not through any fault of Sankey's, but Ken Wisenhunt employs a committee, and I mean, he does that with his quarterbacks too. So I mean, at this point, I think it's extremely difficult to trust any Titans skill players.
Well, I mean, I know you and I went back and forth a lot when they went to Mettenberger, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, what is going on? Letting go of Locker was a hard thing for me, and I still am not. I feel like EJ Manuel, it's like, really? Did we have to? I know he got hurt again, and he's always hurt, but man, you guys, like, we're just going through these quarterbacks like they're toilet paper, and I think they're actually human beings that maybe could be developed like every other skill player. I
The
don't know.
days of the days of the Aaron Rodgers getting to sit behind Brett Favre for 3 years and learn are gone. I mean, they're
Yeah, Phil
gone,
Rivers.
and the NFL is just going to grind these young guys up, these young quarterbacks up, and spit them out unless you get lucky and get a Russell Wilson or an Andrew Luck. And a lot of it, and you're right, Brandon, a lot of it depends on where they go.
Of course, because it's all about like what the coach's philosophy is.
Yes,
If EJ Manuel would have had another coach, the coach would have been like, "Let's stick with him. Our defense is awesome. He'll figure it out around week 5. We already are 1-2. We have a great defense. We're going forward." That could have been just as valid of a decision. Their defense was unreal. Questionably one of the best, if not the best in the league. I mean, they held Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, you name the super stud quarterback down to 0. So I just feel like that's the perfect opportunity for one of these young quarterbacks to really hone in on their skills. And he is kind of the option quarterback, read option guy. But I feel like they could have established that rhythm. It's not exactly like Kyle Orton went in there and just blew it up. He was terrible. His stats were not good.
And they traded up for a receiver, too, to help him out. They had all those running backs, including Boobie Dixon. I was listening to your show, and you mentioned Boobie Dixon. I'm like, I haven't heard that name in like 3 months.
He was awesome. Down the stretch, he was really good.
But the problem was they had the worst matchups for running backs, and people kept saying, should I play him? And I was like, no, they're playing the Jets. Like, no, they're on a bye. No, they're playing Kansas City. I mean, they had the worst lineup for running backs, and then Fred Jackson came back. And Fred Jackson, I want what he's having. That guy is so old.
He's done well.
And he's so fit. I mean, I know he got hurt.
Wolverine blood going through him. Because he's like 34 or something now, and usually running back's dead at 29, and he's like, I was 29 when I was a rookie. I mean, he's just crazy.
And if you're in PPR, he's catching balls left and right. He's gotten better at the passing game as he's gotten older. So he's actually more valuable depending on your format.
I think they signed him into an extension, and they probably don't want C.J. Spiller back. So it's like, oh, next year.
I was just getting ready to say
Every
CJ
year he's a
Spiller is
7th-round pick,
going to be interesting.
I think I got him in the 10th round in one of my drafts. I was like, you know what? It's the 10th round. But you know, people are crazy. Speaking of Bishop Sankey, I got Drew Brees in the 6th round of this SiriusXM host draft, and it was the same round Bishop Sankey was taken. And I was like, you know what? I win this round of the draft. I know everyone wants to be late round quarterback, but 6th round Drew Brees, thanks. I'll take that. Thank you. Goodbye. I just feel like we take this late round quarterback thing way too far.
I don't play that game.
Hey, I took Tony Romo, man, and now I got the championship.
Exact. Everyone who got the championship had a legitimate guy. They weren't like switching between Andy Dalton and Ryan Tannehill.
He was the 13th quarterback taken in our league. So, and what was great is my dad waited, and the round before me, guess who he took? Jay Cutler. So at the end of the year, when he was imploding, poor dad had nothing else.
Well, I took Tom Brady a little bit later. Yeah. I think it was around the 7th or maybe even the 9th round. But he was there for the taking. It was rough going the first few weeks. I was like, ooh.
I had to drop him, but yeah, I did the same thing.
I was patient, and it paid off. But see, it's a dynasty league. It was a dynasty league, and I wasn't going to. I also had Jake Locker and Jimmy Garoppolo.
You poor dear.
I know.
So Brandon, how did you do you mentioned in our interview, 2 years ago or whatever it was, your family league. So do you still have the trophy next to your TV? How'd that turn out for you this year?
Well, so I had the trophy, and then I was second place next year to my father. But what was nice is that was the first time he's ever won in the 8 years we've been playing. So he finally got the trophy that he bought for everyone. He was so excited to have his little plate on it. But then this year, actually, my husband won. So it's going to be back in my house. And frankly, my husband always runs his fantasy football lineups by me. So I feel like I half won. And we had a big blockbuster trade in the family league where I traded him Calvin Johnson and he gave me Matt Forte. So I feel like I helped him win because Calvin Johnson was like killer in the playoff rounds. But
I bet being commissioner of that league is kind of tough because I might have been like, there's some shenanigans going on there.
Yeah. Well, I am the commissioner, but I opened it up to everyone. I said, does anyone want to decline this? The problem was I had 0 running backs. So what happened is I drafted when I thought I won the draft. I actually had Calvin Johnson and Demaryius Thomas, which is crazy. Okay. And then I had DeAndre Hopkins and like a couple other like random like people that were later. I drafted well for wide receivers. Running backs, on the other hand, I had Monty Ball, Toby Gerhart, Giovanni Bernard. Who else did I have that like broke their leg? I did pick up Denard Robinson, then he broke his leg. Literally, if you named someone,
Danny Woodhead broke his. I had him.
Danny Woodhead broke. Oh, I had Ryan Matthews. Thank you. Yeah, so I had all the guys that were gone. So I literally didn't have a running back to play, and I said I really need this. So we did this blockbuster trade. But I also gave him Rashad Jennings, and then he also gave me Torrey Smith. Now, it ended up Torrey Smith was better than Rashad Jennings, but at the time it looked like Rashad Jennings was going to be the blockbuster. So actually, my family thought that I was giving him the better trade, but actually he gave me the better trade, but he still won the league because he had a better team. And so, anyway, but yeah, it was interesting. When you're playing with family, it does get a little cutthroat. My parents thought about declining it. But my mother was like, no, Brandon hates Calvin Johnson, so she needs to get rid of him. Because he kept being out, and I couldn't play him. And I was sitting here, I was like, I have no running backs, and Calvin Johnson's out. I was just kept losing over and over again. I was like, I'm desperate. I'll give anyone Calvin Johnson for a running back. I just so yeah. But I am always either first or second or fifth. I always win the losers, or I'm first or second. And this year, once again, I was fifth. I missed it by a half point winning, and then like 20 points in like total scoring to make the Final Four. So, but that's okay. And my sister Ashley got second place and Courtney got third. So it was like, it was good. The sisters represented this year, but so I feel like I half got the trophy because he was, it's kind of the opposite in my house where like I have to be like, listen, you have to wait. I'll look at your team in a minute. I'm doing work. I don't know if you guys do that. If you're, if you have significant others and if they play, but sometimes I have to be like, I'm working. It's Sunday morning. I have to answer Twitter questions, and then I'll look at your lineup. So, I don't know. Do you guys have significant others to play? Do you play against them?
No, my wife and I, we did a pick'em league 2 years in a row, and we made a bet whoever wanted to give the other one like a massage, and she beat me the first year. So the second year we doubled, and I bet a double 2 massages. She beat me again. And we're like, all right, we're done with this. So. But she's become a big like Seattle fan the last couple of years. We were in Seattle last summer, so she was technically a fan before they were huge. And I think she's actually a bigger Seattle fan than I am a Titans fan now, because there's a reason to actually be excited for a Seattle fan. There's hope for the future.
Well, good for her. Did she like get introduced to fantasy through you?
Well, she's heard way much about it. I mean, literally this year in my local keeper league, I won for the first time since the year we were married, and we just celebrated our 11th anniversary. So yeah, she had to deal with me lugging the trophy around. She's like, what is this thing? And then my dad joined our league, and just like you, he won a couple of championships, and I didn't, and then this year I get it back. So it's all
my husband didn't even like football till he met me, so I think it happens.
Turned. That's nice.
Yeah, he didn't. He's from South Dakota. He didn't have a team. He doesn't like football. Yeah, yeah. Do you play with loved ones, Sharona?
My family does not play. I don't have a significant other at the moment. I don't think I'm trying to. Yes, I did play with a significant other. My first entry into fantasy football was a keeper league with a bunch of guys from New Jersey, and my boyfriend was from New York. And so that's how I got introduced.
Nice. Yeah, I'm in the league that I've been in since the beginning is with an ex significant other myself. It's funny, and his wife plays there too now, so it's all good. Yeah, it's fun. I mean, hey, it's like we all get introduced to like fantasy in a specific way, and it's kind of cool. It's fun. But yeah, no, playing with our family is hardcore. I would suggest get your parents involved. Your parents are going to be crazy. My parents literally sit in bed together with their own laptops. They only bought 2 laptops because of fantasy football, because they cannot share on Sundays.
That is too funny.
And they sit with them on their lap watching the ESPN Fantasy Now, setting their lineups on Sunday morning. It's hardcore. We don't mess around. I mean, my dad will just like look at his like fantasy lineup and not do anything but just stare at it, thinking.
Deep thought.
That is so funny.
He was second to last this year, though, so oh, how the mighty have fallen.
It happens, injuries, whatever, it happens.
It happens.
I ended up doing a lot better in fantasy this year than I expected, because I had so many injuries. I was like you, Brandon. I had so many injuries at running back, but I won the league that I never thought I was going to win, my dynasty league, but I won it. I came in third place. I was a couple of weeks at the end killed me in one league. Came in third place there. I had another league where I had a team that was in 2 different. It was a huge league. I came in first place in one of those. No, second place in one of those, and 5th place in the other. But the league that I won, I just actually spent my money from it. So
good. Yeah, I had a good year too. I was 5th or higher in every league except for one, which kind of like stopped tracking. The Scott Fishbowl League. I think you're in that, right, Zach?
Yeah.
You were in that. Yeah, where it's like once you don't make the playoffs, it's kind of game over. So. But all of the other ones I was 5th or higher, and I'm in 9 leagues. But yeah, it was the same thing. It was, I think you need to know what you're good at. So like for me, I'm good at waiver wire, which is why I don't wait on quarterbacks, because you can't pick up an Aaron Rodgers. right? I mean, although Aaron Rodgers is the reason I was third or fourth in a couple leagues because of Week 15. But other than that, he got me to the playoffs. He was consistent. He was awesome. Whereas I could pick up a Justin Forsett. He was in like 4 of my leagues because I just picked him up. I was like, they don't have anyone else, and I don't think Rain Rice is coming back. Denard Robinson got me through 5 weeks, boom. I can pick up Lamar Miller here. I can pick up. So I'm good at like knowing who's going to play now. But if you're not someone that likes to do that, then yeah, you probably want to go heavy on the running backs or wide receivers early. But, everyone's been asking me like, is everyone going to go wide receiver next year? Everyone is really into this wide receiver next year. Are you guys going to do that?
It's turned the corner, like the whole zero running back theory. Because it seems like with those top receivers, they are more sure thing. Like in our local league, we do keepers, but we do redraft every 4 years. So I had like the 10th pick or the 11th pick, and I got Des Bryant, and I was perfectly okay with that. And I won my championship with guys off the waiver wire. I got Jeremy Hill and Mark Ingram were running backs. So I was okay with that. Sometimes, and plus there were injuries. I drafted Adrian Peterson in the second round before he was suspended, so that kind of sucked.
That was crazy. Good. We don't talk enough about how crazy and out of the blue the Adrian Peterson thing was, right? I don't think we've really, the Ray Rice thing we've discussed over and over again, but the Adrian Peterson thing was actually weirder because it was out of the blue. No one knew that was coming. You'd already done your drafts. You could not do anything. You took him in the first or second round, period. And there was I think it was really hard to bounce back from that. I would be very impressed to hear someone who, did you say you won your championship with drafting Adrian Peterson?
Yeah.
That is nuts. You deserve 2 championships for that.
Well, let's just say I was the 7th out of 8 playoff teams, and I had a really good playoff run. But hey, I'll take it.
No, but I think that's when your first round guy doesn't even play for 15 games.
Well, he actually dropped. He was like the number 4, I think, consensus pick, and it was the 2nd pick of the second round. I'm like, why is he still on the board? I ran to the board and picked him. And my dad took Marshawn Lynch right before him, and Marshawn Lynch obviously had a much better year than 0. But yeah, it's kind of like, can you take the deflate Ballgate thing and magnify it by 500? Because he was suspended, then he was coming back in a week, then he wasn't coming back, and I even picked him up at the end of the year, maybe he'll be good next year, or maybe he's not picking up. But yeah, it's like what happened off the field and the whole craziness of all these players, just yeah.
Yeah,
it was very much out of the blue. I don't think anybody expected it.
I didn't know. I had no idea there was any allegations out there about him. I didn't know. I used to live in Minnesota when he was there, and I, so the Vikings are kind of my NFC team, I call them, where I kind of cheer for them a little bit, which I actually think they're going to be kind of good next year. I think they actually had a wonderful season compared to what we thought they would do, especially without Adrian Peterson. But so I've been following him for a long time, and I knew that he liked ladies. I knew that he had a lot of children, is the way I'll put that. But I didn't think there was anything nefarious going on or arrestable. That shocked me. I was really taken aback by that, and because of everything else that's going on with the league, it became huge. But I love that you have Go Beast mode in your what does it call this banner? Yeah. Is that a shout out to the missus who's cheering for the Seahawks, or you two cheering for the Seahawks? This is exciting.
He wants a Beast Mode hat.
We have a friend who's he's a commissioner of our league, and he's a big Patriots fan. And he was a fan, his whole life. He's from there. So they were kind of the sad sack franchise. But since they've become good, he has become every annoying Patriots fan times 10.
Oh my gosh.
And I just send him articles about the Patriots just to see if it's going to get his goat. So I posted an article that was on Kissing Susie Colbert today about all these kids in third world countries saying we're tired of getting Patriots championship gear because they send them the loser of the Super Bowl. They send all their stuff to all these third world countries. And
Are you serious?
I posted that today, and I got into a bit of a fracas. He wasn't. He didn't take it so well.
That
I
is
was like, feel free to make fun out of me till the end of my days about the Titans if they're good someday. Go ahead and see how I react. I might react the same way, but we'll see.
Patriots fans are
They're just so
insufferable.
easy to like pick at too.
Yeah.
You got the grumbly head coach, a pretty boy quarterback. Just
And a lot of
all the
cheating.
allegations of cheating. Yeah.
It's not really allegations. It actually happened. Whether
Somebody.
we're
Yeah.
only debating who did what, but it actually happened.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of laugh about. I'm like, no, it technically happened. I mean, we yeah, it doesn't matter who did it. Okay, those are valid questions, but it happened. Like that's actually indisputable. And I live in New York, so there are tons of Patriots fans
Oh, right. They have
here.
all the good. Well, I don't know if they're good, but all the headlines about that. Yeah.
Oh
Talk
yeah,
about
yeah.
deflated balls. I mean, that's like it's never going to go away.
It's really funny. I mean, my husband was such a jerk. We went to his work party the other day, and he was like, "Hey, this is so and so. I don't even remember this guy's name." And then he goes, "This is the only cool Patriots fan I've ever met." I was like, "Honey, you can't introduce people to me like that. That's so rude." I just started laughing. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And the guy's like, "Yeah, I am though. I'm the only cool one." And I was like, "Oh no, no, it's bad when there's like self-awareness." It was. Yeah, it was pretty funny. But what are you guys doing for the game?
Sharona, go ahead.
Well, I have not actually decided. I may
Oh, yeah.
I may
Me neither.
enjoy La
Making hominy
Casa.
and grits.
Yeah, I may eat hominy and grits.
Well, that sounds delicious. I
It
think you should
does.
do that regardless.
See, you were clearly brought up right.
Yeah, no,
Zach,
I just
see,
had shrimp and grits last weekend for brunch. I'm into it.
Zach
Oh,
does not know what it means to eat nice, good food, Southern food.
I've just not had the best experience.
He does not appreciate the grit, and I'm just
There's
offended by
certain
it.
southern foods that I like, but the cooking a vegetable until all the color and flavor is all gone, and I'm not a big fan of that. But
If you've had
I've
grits that
had
don't have
grits
flavor,
and not
you're
enjoyed it.
clearly going to the wrong places.
Yeah, I don't take any
Grits,
guff for this, that's for sure.
grits are so delicious. Where do you live, Zach?
I live in Atlanta. I'm in the
Atlanta.
South.
But you're in the South. So you
Zach
don't.
doesn't know it, but all the people that know him in Atlanta call him a damn Yankee.
I
Well,
guess.
yeah,
I'm like, I am a Yankee and I love Southern food.
yeah.
Ooh, I mean, like if I go to a Southern food place, I'm like into it. It's so delicious. I love
It's
grits.
delicious. It's the
I,
best.
I love like, the chicken and waffles kind of
Now,
stuff.
I'm not a big fan of chicken and waffles, but
Oh,
Uh-oh.
I like a
you
good fried
know,
chicken.
a lot of people love it. I'm cool with them loving it. I like my breakfast to be breakfast, and give me my chicken with my chicken. Give me my breakfast with my breakfast, and I'm good. No, but I do like steak and eggs.
Oh yeah, that's delicious. You know what? I love all breakfast foods. You're never gonna get like a no from me for breakfast foods, sweet, salty, what have you. I just love it all. But yeah, no, you know what? It's the Super Bowl. You can do whatever you want. So yeah, get some good grits. Do it up. And I'm the same way. I just kind of feel like this is perhaps the least excited I've ever been for a Super Bowl, and I'm sad. I'm a little sad about it because I'm kind of like, Seahawks and Patriots. I knew it'd be like this. Like you said, Zach, on our show. I actually said that. I was like, well,
You
I
said it
want
in
it.
not a happy way, I'll say that.
Yeah, I said I want it to be the Cowboys and the Broncos, but it will be the Seahawks and the Patriots, and I'll be bored. And that's what it is. I feel the same way. I keep getting these like emails like, "Hey, what are you doing for Super Bowl?" And I just kind of respond with, "Meh." I mean, I'm probably gonna make dip, drink some alcohol, and then cry. I mean, it just is so non. I mean, we can talk. I mean, I could talk until I'm blue in the face about Seattle and Patriots on like a technical level. I think Russell Wilson is an unbelievably once in a lifetime type of, pass action type of crazy quarterback. Do you know he would be tied for the 16th most yards out of running backs this year with C.J. Anderson?
I know. Your new guy, CJ.
And then
Talk about
17th in touchdowns. Like, he would be a startable running back in fantasy football. He's a top 20 guy. That's insane. Because he's also a quarterback. Now, I say that lightly because, frankly, they don't throw the ball a lot. But it doesn't matter. He's so elusive, and he never gets hit.
Yeah, the Titans played him last year, and he basically, it was kind of like, because I was in Kansas City in my high school years, and they were playing Denver, and Elway would always find a way. Like, they could not sack him. And that's the same way with Russell Wilson. Like, he looks, and he doesn't run quick like RG3 would. Like, oh, one read, I'm going.
Or Colin Kaepernick, who looks like an elk.
Yeah, it's like a gazelle.
Yeah, he's got those legs. It's really impressive. Yeah, but he does it, and then he gets out of bounds. He's smart.
I don't see him getting hit very often, and it's and for him to be so young, and it's almost the Tom Brady thing. I mean, it could be 2 out of 3 years, and Brady was, in his second year when he won the first time, but still kind of the same age range. He's gonna get paid big time this offseason.
Well, he should. He was the third highest earning quarterback on his own team after winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Literally. That's insane. I can't believe that that's legal. I mean, at some point, like, listen, I understand that these are like contracts and, blah, blah, blah. But, like, I feel like once you earn a Super Bowl, you need to negotiate to keep some of these guys. I mean,
there's performance-based pay that does kind of come in and help alleviate some of that. But yeah,
but what if he would have broken his leg this year?
Mm-hmm.
What would have happened? This was his contract negotiation year. They would have been like, oh, well, you broke your leg, so we're gonna undercut you. The guy won a Super Bowl. And I'm not like a money person, and I obviously these guys are gazillionaires, and we don't want to act like, oh, poor them. But at the same time, if you're talking about market value, it's really unfair that his 2 backups are both making more money than he is after he's won a Super
part
Bowl.
of it is crazy.
I mean,
DeVaris Jackson makes more money than Russell Wilson. That is insane.
It blows your mind, right? And I'm not saying that he is Joe Montana, okay? Like, I'm not. I mean, I like Russell Wilson. I'm very interested what he's going to do if they get rid of Marshawn Lynch, because I disagree with the Seahawks. I think Marshawn Lynch is special. I think that he's a special running back, and we keep devaluing running backs, and yet all of the teams that were in the championship weekend, save one, the Colts, who got blown out, have power backs. Let's not pretend like they didn't have running. They all had power running games. Eddie Lacy, as much as we hate it, LeGarrette Blount, Marshawn Lynch, and then, the Colts didn't have it. But if you look even back farther, there was, C.J. Anderson. I mean, the Broncos have always been a one running back team. There's the
Ravens amazingly had a good running game when you consider, with Justin Forsett and, their deal. So, yeah, I mean, I love it that the teams that made the playoffs this year pay attention, Ken Wisenhunt. Know what it means to play ball control football, and it's old. I wrote an article for NFL Female talking about this kind of an old-fashioned return to old-fashioned football, and I love it.
Me too. I do too. I think the smash mouth kind of play is really the way to go, and it seems to be the way to get through the season entirely.
The Titans at Sean Green. Oh. Oh, Sean Green. Too soon.
Wow, that was like your equivalent to like a Whitney joke. You just can't make them anymore.
Ooh, Lordy.
Yeah, there's certain guys that when they're gone, I think we're going to miss them a little more. Like when Trent Richardson is out of the league, which could be next year, what are we going to do? Because it was just every week. And that was kind of underreported. Like before the game, they said he had a family emergency and he was leaving. And then it turned out he'd basically just ditched the team and got suspended. I was like, okay. And I was in Indianapolis when they traded for him, and I met up with a friend of mine, Brian Ballmer, who was so excited they traded for him. That didn't go so well.
Did not go well. I thought it would go better than what it went.
Yeah. I mean, when he was a prospect, I mean, he was like the highest considered like running back since Adrian Peterson, and I had him his rookie year. He scored a lot of touchdowns. It was great. In his second
He
year,
did get it,
he
yeah.
was terrible.
I had him his rookie year too.
I hope that, like, if something bad happened, that he's okay. I feel like sometimes we don't like always, not you guys by any means. You guys are fabulous. But, I feel like sometimes, when you hear about people on Twitter direct tweeting these players and being like, you suck. It's like,
Yeah.
they're a professional football player and they are more athletic than you are and they're trying really hard. So just stop it. But in Trent Richardson's case, if something bad happened, because it was such a weird thing, right? Like it seemed like out of nowhere he just got terrible. So I think something maybe happened. And if something did happen, I hope that he's okay and that he moves forward because, I mean, it's literally that bad. Yeah, it's that bad. I wonder.
I don't wish I don't wish ill really on anybody.
No.
And there are people who wish ill on even, guys who do bad stuff like, like Ray Rice or, whatever. And I don't wish ill on anybody.
No.
We all have our stuff, right?
I think
kind
so.
of with Ray Lewis, but anyway, sorry.
Ray Lewis.
I just want Ray Lewis to get off my TV.
Right. Yeah.
He's
talking,
awful.
not so good.
Yeah. I don't know how I should respond to that, and it makes me uncomfortable that ESPN is demanding that I make a decision every time I turn on my television as to whether I keep it there. And I don't like that. Don't make me make that decision every week. Whatever happened, but he just makes me uncomfortable. It's constant because he's always there. And I'm like, gosh, I wish I didn't have to think about this over and over again. But, once again, like you said, I don't wish ill on anyone. And there was actually a terrible thread on like my friend's Facebook page. You know how it is. Social media is it is what it is. About Michael Vick. And people were like, I'd murder him. What he did to those dogs, he doesn't deserve to live. And I'm like, yeah, what he did was really terrible. Really bad. But murdering him doesn't help anyone. What are you talking about? And years later, I'm like, oh my gosh, why are people saying murdering people is the answer? It's like, so sometimes you have to just tune it out. You have to be like, okay.
Yes, definitely.
There's a lot of crazies out there. You gotta.
Zach knows this, Brandon. I took a social media break after the end of the season. People tweet awful stuff at me too. Nothing like what happens to like to some of the guys or whatever. I refuse to go check athletes or any big time. I don't look at their mentions because I know it's a cesspool in there.
Yeah, we had a really rough beginning of the season, and it was horrifying. I stayed in bed for like a week, not wanting to move. This is like people are real people that you like say these terrible things to, and I think sometimes we act like our opinions actually are more important than the human being on the other end of it, and that's just not true, regardless of how informed or uninformed the other person is. So, I'm just kind of like, listen, if I'll make jokes or, but I'll never mention someone or, attack them, but you can laugh and be like, whoops, that was a huge mistake. They know it too. But mentioning people and telling them that you hate them or, like that guy that showed up at Matt Schaub's house in Houston.
I know that was scary.
Yeah. People take it so far. So I don't know. But you know what? It was overall, I think it was like a really fun season as far as strategy went for fantasy football. It was a big like pickup season, like you said, Zach, about like, all your guys are from the waiver wire, and that kind of made it a fun, interesting season. And I'm trying to focus on that and not like the really terrible negative things, even though I do have to not applaud the NFL, but I'm glad that there is going to be the domestic violence commercial in the Super Bowl and that they're donating it and they're not charging them for it. But so I think it's baby steps. I think we're getting there. Maybe.
Certainly closer than we were before all of this started, right?
I hope so.
I hope so too.
I mean, I guess that's another thing that's coming out. You're talking about the negativity on the internet, but it does seem like everything's coming to the surface. So kind of issues that people wouldn't talk about, they have to talk about now. So because of the Ray Rice situation, people have to talk about these domestic violence situations, and people can actually talk about what's happened to them, and it's not a shaming thing. It's like, oh, this is the situation, this is what's going on, can we deal with it, and if people need help, can we get them help, and all that stuff. Like ultimately, if Ray Rice and his wife want to live happily ever after, okay, as long as they're getting counseling and all that. I don't know if he'll get another shot at the NFL because he is in that kind of expiration date of running backs, but
well, he wasn't good the year before either.
Yeah, I had him in my dynasty league, and that was a bad one.
I mean, to be frank, it was one of the things that we said on the show. So I was in 2 no Ray Rice leagues. Actually, I was in 3 no Ray Rice leagues where no one drafted Ray Rice.
By the time I draft, I'm not sure if he was even taken. Maybe he was.
I'm sure he was because he was supposedly suspended only for 2 games.
Oh, that's right. It was 2 games. Yeah, that's right. He did get taken.
But one of the leagues that I was in, the commissioner sent out an email. He's like, listen, they didn't suspend Ray Rice for what they should have, but I think we should. I'm saying right now I would like us all to vote that no one will draft Ray Rice. And everyone agreed. And it was an all-guy league except for me, and I was not the one who instigated it. And then another league that I was in did the same thing. The guy was like, hey, I've heard about this no Ray Rice league. I'm going to do it. And then I turned to my family. I was like, listen, these other leagues are doing it. We probably should. And my sisters and I had already been like, we're not going to draft him. So, but it ended up helping everyone because he never came back. So we kind of saved someone a terrible draft pick. But, listen, I'm not saying that we should all do that, but I think that the message was sent this year to the league that everyone's watching and everyone's concerned, and you have to start being concerned. And I know domestic violence is tricky, and a lot of people aren't convicted, because actually what they did with Ray Rice is standard, where they kind of drop the charges, but you plea guilty, and you just kind of do customer service, community service, but we have to start doing something, because something's better than nothing is kind of at least my mentality. It's not perfect by any means, but it's time. I think they heard it. I think they have to hear it. I think they would have had to be deaf, dumb, and blind to not understand that everyone was kind of raging with like, what the, everyone was talking with their hands, and I don't know. I mean, at the same time, though, I hope that he and Janae, heal, I guess would be the right word. I hope they heal. Because you know what? I hope we all heal. But I don't know.
Will we be able to love again after the NFL season ends? That's a tough question. Yeah. So we've actually kept you longer than we usually do for the show, so that's.
I'm so sorry. I like you guys.
It's like a good conversation.
We love you too, Brandon.
I don't want to stop it. I was like, let's go here.
We appreciate you coming on.
Wherever this car is going, we're just gonna take it.
I've had a wonderful time being Twitter friends with you guys too. I think you guys are really fabulous. And
well, we love you too. You and your sisters are all great. And we definitely appreciate you taking the time to come on the show and talk to us. It was great stuff.
You guys are great, and you guys, happy Super Bowl weekend. And I'll let you guys close out your show by yourselves. I'm
Brandon,
so sorry.
Before you hit the road, just tell everybody where they can find you. Facebook and Twitter and all your various shows. And is Her Fantasy Football carrying on during the off season?
Yeah, thank you. So, you can check us out on herfantasyfootball.com. You can follow the whole group of us at herfantasyfb. You can follow me at Brandon herffb. And we're now, I guess, getting the full details, but we're going to be part of the Blog Talk Radio relaunch of Fantasy Football. football channel or something for 2015, which is exciting. And then I also partake in the Fantasy Funhouse on Sirius XM on Fridays during football season, and I'll probably be starting up quickly. I just did another segment, so you never know. Football season's never really over. So
there is no off season.
So
there
true.
is there isn't for us, but even for other people, I think we're all done with off season. So, but yeah, so please come check us out, chat. We love answering questions and also getting answers because it's a dialogue. So thank you, we appreciate it, and thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, you guys.
Well, thanks for coming on the show. We
Yeah.
had to get you on there.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too. We'll talk soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I just thought we had to roll and keep going. I was like, we're going to keep talking. Football.
All right, Zach, time to wrap it up.
So who are you picking for this big game on Sunday?
My gut just keeps telling me that the Patriots are going to win, although I'm wearing Seahawk colors. If the Seahawks win, I'll be perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, I'll go with the reverse jinx and say Patriots pull it out and Tom Brady, Bill Belichick roll off into the sunset and become Voldemort and all that good stuff.
Oh my God!
And that'll be the end of my friend Paul. He's gonna be excited 4 times, and then they'll win again next year, and then they'll all retire, and they'll be very sad because it'll never happen again. But anyway, so Sharona, what you got going on? Tell us what's happening.
Well, we are back. Don't call it a comeback. Game over with Zach and Sharona is back in the morning with our Super Bowl preview show, our first show of 2015. We went on a hiatus. We're coming back. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to preview the game. We're going to do a lot of fun stuff. I am now the official NFL fan reporter for NFL Female. Be sure to check out all my stuff there. And I also still write for Pro Player Insiders, so check out our website. And there's always something cooking over at Sports by Sharona. And hopefully, I ran into a little snag with my big project that Zach is so curious about. But I think that all the hiccups, the kinks are out, and I should be able to finish that up this weekend.
Well, I hope so. So one of these days you can, tell me what's going down.
We should be able to talk about it next week.
Okay, well, I'm pretty easy to find. It's Zach_Law on Twitter, Zach Law Online. I haven't really been posting much. We'll see. Maybe I'll get a Super Bowl post in there. But for now, I'm just enjoying the show. I'm just enjoying the glorious craziness that is the NFL. And yes, as we mentioned, there really isn't going to be an off season. We're going to keep going. I think having the guests is going well. So we got Matt Riddle coming on next week. You want to talk about, Brandon was talking about doing like mock drafts early. He's going to be talking about MFL 10s, which will be starting up shortly. We'll get to talk all about that kind of fantasy type league, because there are all kinds of new crazy types of fantasy leagues. But thank you for hanging on for a little extended time, and good night and good luck, and go quality food and drink at the Super Bowl is what I'm talking about.
Go Sports.